I didn't faint because of the heat. I didn't faint because of nerves. And I definitely didn't faint because of the champagne. I fainted because when my knees hit the marble floor of the ballroom, my sister smiled. Not a gasp. Not panic. Not concern. A smile. The kind that lasts half a second too long, just long enough for you to wonder if you imagined it. But I didn't imagine it. And that smile was only the beginning. I always thought my wedding would be the safest day of my life. Surrounded by people who loved me. A room full of witnesses. Hundreds of eyes. Too public for anything bad to happen. Turns out, that's exactly why she chose it. My wedding cost just over $76,000. Outdoor ceremony. Crystal chandeliers. Custom florals flown in from Italy. My husband, now my husband, had spared no expense. And my sister, Lena, had been glued to my side all day, helping me dress, fixing my veil, handing me drinks. Everyone kept telling me how lucky I was to have such a supportive sister. I should have known better. Lena and I were never close, not really. Growing up, she was the golden child. I was the one who learned to stay quiet, to disappear politely. But adulthood was supposed to fix that. She hugged me when I got engaged. She cried at the engagement dinner. She insisted on being part of everything. Looking back now, I realized something terrifying. She didn't want to stand beside me. She wanted to stand where I was. The first warning came during the rehearsal dinner. I'd asked for sparkling water, no alcohol. Lena returned with a flute of champagne anyway. Just one sip, she teased. Relax. When I declined, she laughed it off. But later that night, I caught her watching me drink from across the table. Not casually, intently. On the wedding day, everything moved fast. Makeup. Photos. Guests arriving. At the reception, Lena handed me a drink again. I checked, she said. It's safe. Promise. Something about the way she said safe made my stomach tighten. But I drank it anyway. And that's when the room tilted. My ears rang. My vision narrowed. I remember reaching for my husband's hand. And missing. I remember the sound of someone screaming my name. And then, the floor. When I opened my eyes, I was surrounded by chaos. Guests whispering. My husband pale with fear. A medic kneeling beside me. And Lena, standing a few feet away. Hands clasped. Face calm. Smiling. The doctors said it was likely dehydration mixed with stress. They recommended rest. No one questioned the drinks. No one questioned Lena. But I did. Because as they helped me up, I felt something cold slide from my lap. A tiny, clear vial. Empty. I didn't say anything. Not then. Because if there's one thing growing up with Lena taught me, it's this. She always underestimates how much I notice. And while everyone thought the danger had passed, I knew the real story was just beginning. And tell me if you want it darker, slower, or more shocking. The vial didn't make it into any report. I slipped it into my clutch before anyone noticed, before the medic, before my husband, before Lena could step closer. I smiled. I laughed weakly. I let them believe I was fine. Because if Lena thought I was onto her this early, she'd change tactics. And Lena was very, very good at changing tactics. Growing up, my sister never hit me. Never screamed. Never did anything that would have looked bad from the outside. She preferred quiet control. If something went missing, it somehow ended up in her room. If I got praised, she'd suddenly cry. If I was excited about something, she'd find a way to make it feel unsafe. My parents called it sibling rivalry. I called it survival training. 3 years before my wedding, something strange had happened. Lena's college roommate, Maya, had collapsed during finals week.
Food poisoning, they said.
Maya transferred schools after that. Cut contact. Refused to talk about Lena. I only remembered because Lena had once laughed and said, "People are so dramatic when they don't get enough attention." At the time, I thought nothing of it. At the time. The night of my wedding, after the guests left and my husband finally slept, I sat alone in the bathroom. Still in my gown. Bare feet on cold tile. Vial in my hand. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I knew Lena well enough to know she wouldn't use anything lethal. She never wanted blood on her hands. She wanted plausible accidents. The next morning, she came to our hotel suite uninvited. "Oh my God," she said dramatically. "You scared everyone." She kissed my cheek. "Too long. I stayed up all night worrying," she added.
Lie.
I watched her eyes, not her face. She was scanning the room, looking for something. "Did they say what caused it?" she asked casually. "Dehydration," I said. Her shoulders relaxed. Just a fraction. There it was. Over the next week, Lena became helpful. Too helpful. She brought food, offered drinks, insisted on spending time alone with me. She texted constantly. "Are you okay?
Did you eat? Did you sleep?"
It wasn't concern. It was inventory. So I started doing something new. I stopped confronting her in my head and started documenting her in real life. I took photos of every drink she handed me. I kept every message. I logged every time she checked on my health. And quietly, very quietly, I had the vial tested. The results came back 2 weeks later. A low-dose compound. Fast-acting. Clears the system quickly. Designed to incapacitate, not kill. The note from the lab said, "This substance is often used to induce confusion, fainting, or temporary loss of muscle control." In other words, perfect for public humiliation. Perfect for ruining a wedding. Perfect for making me look weak. I didn't cry when I read it. I laughed. Because Lena had made one fatal mistake. She thought I'd confront her. She thought I'd panic. She thought I'd try to expose her immediately. But here's the thing about people like Lena. They don't fear justice. They fear loss of control. And I was about to let her believe she still had it. I texted her first. Doctor says it was probably stress. Guess weddings just hit me hard." She replied instantly. "Lena, see? I told you. You just needed rest." I could almost hear her relief. Almost taste it. What she didn't know was that I'd already made a decision. If she wanted to play this game, I was going to let her set the board. Lena sent me a gift 3 weeks after the wedding. No note. No card. Just a small, elegant box delivered to my door. Inside was a bracelet, delicate gold, the kind that looks expensive without trying too hard. My husband smiled when he saw it. "Maybe she really does feel bad," he said. I smiled too, but my stomach dropped. Because Lena never gave gifts unless they were symbols. Trophies. I didn't wear the bracelet. Instead, I photographed it from every angle. The clasp, the engraving, the weight. Then, I did something Lena would never expect from me. I gave it away. At a small dinner a few nights later, I invited Lena and a handful of friends. Casual. Safe.
Public.
I wore a simple black dress. And, on my wrist, the bracelet. Lena noticed immediately. Her eyes locked on it like it had been magnetized. "You're wearing it," she said, smiling. "Of course," I replied. "I love it."
Lie.
But her reaction told me everything I needed to know. Relief.
Pride.
Ownership. Dinner was uneventful. Too uneventful. No drinks from Lena.
No havering.
No concern. She was confident again, which meant she was ready to move forward. 2 days later, she asked me to meet her alone. "Just us," she said. "Sisters." My husband hesitated. I squeezed his hand. "It's fine." Because I'd already prepared. The cafe was quiet. Lena arrived early.
She ordered for me.
A habit she never broke. "I got you the herbal tea," she said. "It's good for anxiety." I nodded. Didn't drink it. That's when she leaned in. "You know," she said softly, "people were talking after the wedding." I raised an eyebrow. "Talking about what?" She tilted her head, faux sympathy in her eyes. "About how fragile you looked." There it was. "I just worry," she continued, "that marriage might be too much for you." I let silence stretch. Then I said, "Do you?" She smiled. "I always have." That night, I checked the bracelet again. The clasp clicked differently than it should have. I took it to a jeweler. He frowned almost immediately. "There's a hollow here," he said. He pried it open. Inside was a tiny compartment, empty. The room felt suddenly very still, because now I understood. The vial at my wedding hadn't been a one-time thing. It was a system.
Portable.
Discreet. Reusable. And Lena had given it to me as a gift. I didn't confront her. Instead, I did something far worse. I wore the bracelet again. Everywhere. Family events.
Brunch.
Photos. I let her believe she still had access. Still had control.
Still had time.
Because if Lena thought she was safe, she'd escalate. And when she did, I'd be ready. They say people like Lena don't stop until they win. But that's not true. They stop when you let them win publicly. And destroy them privately. It happened at our parents' anniversary dinner. A full month after the wedding. Lena looked radiant. She always did when she thought she was winning. She wore red. She hugged everyone. She even brought a gift for her mother.
She sat beside me.
Handed me a drink.
Sparkling cider, she said. For your nerves, she smiled.
I took it.
Laughed.
Clinked my glass against hers. And drank it. Slowly. Watching her eyes the whole time. 10 minutes later, I staggered slightly. Gripped the back of a chair. Lena was at my side instantly. Are you okay? She said. Her eyes glittered. She helped me outside to get air. Just the two of us. My husband stayed inside. He was waiting. Outside, under the patio lights, Lena held my arm. Maybe you should sit, she said sweetly. I nodded. I think you're right. Then I turned, looked her directly in the eyes, and said, Did you bring the same stuff as last time, or did you upgrade? She froze, smiled quickly, laughed it off. What are you talking about? I reached into my purse, pulled out a second drink. Identical. This one's the one I actually drank. Her smile cracked. You didn't think I'd come unprepared, did you?
She tried to speak.
I interrupted. I've been recording every conversation, every text, every concerned sister check-in. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You wouldn't, but I already had. I gestured toward the French doors. See the guy near the cake? Private investigator. Certified toxicologist. He's had your bracelet tested. Twice.
She blanched.
Bracelet. Oh, come on. The hollow compartment? That was clever. I even wore it for you. Her hands shook. You have no proof. I smiled. My husband does. And my lawyer. And the cloud. In the end, I didn't press charges. Lena was too proud. Too smart. She fled instead. Blocked us all. Moved across the country. I let her. But the story? I kept that. Because when people ask why I don't talk to my sister anymore, I just smile and say, oh, she tried to poison me at my wedding. But it didn't work out.